All right, that's better. Let's try this again. Good evening, everybody. Let me know how everything sounds. Let me know if we're doing good. A little bit of technical difficulty there for a minute. I had to plug my mic back in. I forgot that I had unplugged it for something else, but hopefully it's working now. How does it sound tonight? Is this okay, or is it too low, too loud? If anybody is out there right now, let me know. I'm trying to listen to myself too to see how it sounds, and it sounds a little bit low, I think. All right, we'll give it a few minutes. We'll wait for people to head in here if they need to head in. So we are gonna continue with Roll for It today. We are going to hopefully finish today. I'm gonna kind of blow through the blue player side a lot quicker than we did the red one. I won't explain as much. We're just gonna do it. The reason being that it's the blue player is very, very similar to the red player. So since the two are very similar, the only difference is that we choose which dice for the red player. The computer will choose which dice for the blue player. Since that is the only main difference between the two, I'm not going to worry about a whole lot of the explanation on what we are doing and why we are doing it. If you want to see that, if you missed part 2, go back and watch part 2. I explain a lot more of that. Then we are going to get to the buttons. We're going to go through and we're going to take care of coding the buttons today. So both the computer's button, or to let the computer know that we're done, and then our roll button. And then if we have time, we'll get to the you win condition. A lot of you have worked with you win conditions or just win conditions in general. This one's not much different. We're counting points. We're doing stuff with points. We're going to create scores. It's not a big deal. If you guys need, put a comment down below, and I'll actually do a video about win conditions, and maybe I'll just tack onto this one, but I doubt we'll get to the win condition today. We'll just let that be something else that we do maybe another day. Hey, Pearson Kaizo, how's it going? Just wait a few more seconds here. Again, let people get in. Did anybody have any questions from last week? Anything still lingering around? Stuff that you thought later that maybe I should have asked a question about that, but you didn't at the time? Now is definitely the time to ask those questions. I am more than happy to answer while we wait for a few minutes here and let people get in. You guys are all good? One of the things I wanted to mention today too is please go ahead and feel free to share the videos here. I don't want this to just be something that is focused around coding only. I'm working on some additional programs excuse me, the first one that I'm working on is a program for math. So it'll take it's a statistics concept, it's a mathematic concept, and I'm gonna make a video on how to code it and put it up here, and it'll teach a little bit of the math and it'll teach a little bit of the code as well. And so it's kind of us using code to help us understand other subjects. Feel free to share this around. I want people to be able to get more than just coding from this. While the schools are shut down, we need to be sharing information. Excuse me. We need to be sharing information with each other, and helping each other out and learning together. And that'll definitely be a way that I'm trying to contribute. So let's feel free to share this on Facebook or Twitter, or tell your friends or whatever, and they can hop in and you can even chat with them here while you're learning, and everything will be nice and fun, I hope. All right. Well, I'm going to get started today. I see we got a couple viewers here, so that's good. Something's better than nothing. I'm just glad I'm not alone. All right, so the first day we worked on the card. So far the card's running fairly well. I believe we are missing a little bit of code from the card, but we don't want to put it in just yet. We're going to put in how to score inside the card. Then we did the white dice. The white dice go on top of the card. This was all part of that. The white dice is completely done. We have no more code to actually put in there, if I am correct. And I'm looking at my template here, and I'm pretty certain I'm correct. All right. In the red dice, this is what we did last week. This had a lot more to it. We definitely did a little bit trickier things in this to get it to roll randoms, to get some cool animations on that roll. We had to do some playing here to get this to work right, and the code is a little bit different. We probably haven't really taught this a whole lot yet. Again, this is something I built for fun, so I just kind of made it how I would write code in my everyday work. This isn't necessarily something we teach all the time, so you guys are definitely jumping forward a little bit and trying to learn something new. If I am correct with this, looking at my notes here, we only have one small little piece of code left, and we're going to put that in here pretty quick. So today, again, blue dice, we're going to get to the buttons, and we may or may not get to the win condition, which is that last sprite there called sprite 2. It says you win. Again, we may or may not get there. We'll see. We will see. Okay. So let's get going. So where we left off here, if I press the green flag, we can do the roll, we can pick the dice, and wow, that was actually a really good roll. Here's the problem: nothing happens once we are done with that card. We'll fix that here in a minute. But let's say we were done anyway. Let me roll again here. Let me get something that's a little bit harder. Let me pull up there we go. 6 or 15 card is always a lot harder. So let's pick from this. We'll see what can fit in there. Okay, only 2 fit in there. Now we need to actually tell the program that we're done rolling, and that's what this little button here does. Is we're going to click done, and that signifies to the blue player that they can do something. Right now, this does nothing. If I click on this, it is going to do absolutely nothing. In fact, it did so much nothing that it just opened up the sprite and was like, hey, why don't you put some code in here? So let's make sure we're clicked on that sprite, on the done sprite, and if you look up in the top corner here, you will see the I can't get the mouse to go large. There we go. You'll see the done button. First thing we're going to do is we always want to make sure that it's in the right place, right? Every time. We want to make sure it's in the right place. So we're going to go into events. And we're going to grab the when green flag is clicked. And then we will go to motion. And we're going to grab go to X and Y. And we're going to set X to 300 and Y to negative 180. And then what we want to do is we don't want this to show up until we've pressed the other button, until we've pressed the roll button. So we want this to hide. When our program opens up, we want this to hide. We don't want the user to see it. Shouldn't be seen until we're ready for it. So we're going to just put in a hide there. Those are our initializers. That's where we start. So far, so good. Pretty easy, right? Not too bad. Well, again, we've rolled the dice and it's hidden. So let's look at how this works now. If I press the green flag, it's going to be hidden at the beginning. If I roll the dice, it is now hidden altogether. So let's look at what we're doing with this green dice. And we created this last time, but we haven't used it yet. And it's got a broadcast in there called new roll. So we did the same thing. We placed it. We're going to show it. And then we have broadcasting a new roll and we want to hide it. So when we roll the dice, this is when we can make this show up. And this is why we put this broadcast in there, is we're letting it know, hey, something's happening. So we're going to come in to the done over here. And we are going to go into events and grab the when I receive. Mine still says 2 dice. We're going to change this to new roll. When I receive new roll, we're going to go to looks and we're going to show it. So what we're doing here is we're not actually going through and doing a whole lot of programming on playing the game. This is just making sure that the user has a good time while playing the game. This is user interface programming. We want to make sure this looks clean, looks good, behaves well. This is what we're focusing on right now. We are not worried about anything more at this second except for making sure these buttons work right. If the buttons don't work right, the player's not going to have any fun. Okay. Now, we need to come in here and we need to also, now this is, let's actually go back just 1 second. Let's go in here and we'll say, okay, let's say I'm just going to pass. I don't care if any of these fit. This is now showing up like we want it to, but when I click on it, it doesn't do anything. So let's make it do something. We're going to go into control and we're going to grab when this sprite is clicked. And when this sprite is clicked, we're going to create a new broadcast here. So let's go into broadcast. Let's grab one of those. And we have all these so far, 2 dice, 3 dice, 6 dice, new card, new roll. We're going to create a new one. And we're going to call this done rolling. We're going to use this in 2 directions. This is just going to tell us one way or another whether I'm done rolling or whether the computer is done rolling. So we'll know this one way or another. All right, so we're going to broadcast done rolling. And when we click done, we want this to disappear again. We don't want to be able to have the user do anything. We don't want them to interrupt the computer trying to take their turn. So we're going to hide this. All right. Great. So now if everything's performing right, let's just check it. We're going to test as we go along. I'm going to ignore these dice. Actually, I'm going to grab the one. I can't help it. And I'm going to click done. And it doesn't do anything yet. So the first thing we want to do, just like your turn in real life, you would probably take your dice back off the table. Our dice are still sitting on the table. We don't want that. That's rude. We want the other player to have their turn. So let's take care of that. Let's go into the red dice. Make sure you're on this red dice. You can see the sprite up in the top corner there. And we are going to go to events. We're going to grab when I receive, and mine still says 2 dice. And we're going to say when I receive done rolling. And I want to do a couple different things here. The first one I'm going to do is I'm going to hide. And I'll show you what this does. Alright, let's roll. I have these dice out here. I have 6 of them. I click done. Actually, that worked out pretty well. And we don't want that because when we have them running in the background, the next time we go to roll, when we show these, the dice are going to show up because they're clones. And clones can kind of be a pain sometimes. So what we want to do is let's go to control and we're going to say delete this clone. Let's try this again. Don't rearrange this. I'm just going to show you what's going on here. So we're going to roll. And we're going to delete this clone, and you'll see that it deletes all the clones we made except for that last dice. Because that wasn't a clone, that's our original, right? So that's why we're doing the hide, because we're going to hide our original, but we're going to delete all the clones. Alright, and actually with that, that is our last piece of code in the red dice. We are done. We are complete. This is great. I'm going to move that out of my way now. I don't have to look at it anymore. It's always good when you have to get rid of it out of your notes. It's very nice, very nice. Okay. So now we should have, let me double check this. We should have everything working appropriately. I say roll. I'm going to pick one and I'm going to click done. Our dice removes themselves. Both of our buttons are gone. Everything looks good. This is where we get into the blue dice playing. And again, one of the things you're going to notice is with the blue dice, it looks almost exactly the same. So again, I'm going to go through it a little bit quicker. It's going to be one of those things that if you have questions, go ahead and post it. Oh, I do see something. Yes, Pierce, if you go ahead and make sure you share it, and I will look at it afterwards and I can make sure that you did it right. Definitely, I don't mind doing that. More than happy. Okay, so let's click on the blue dice here. Let's get started on the blue dice. And let me see, let me get my notes a little bit bigger here. Just one second. All right, so we are going to start first and foremost by setting up where the blue dice should be. Always start with when the green flag is clicked. So we're going to go in, and with the blue dice, this is actually pretty easy. We're going to do when green flag is clicked. Then we're going to go to looks, and we're just going to hide it. We don't want to see the blue dice yet. We don't care about the blue dice. We go first, the computer gets to wait. So we just hide it away. That's all we're going to worry about at the moment. That's pretty easy, because we're going to take care of the positioning and where everything should go once they roll. So we don't have to worry about positioning up front. All right, now we have when I receive done rolling. So there's a couple different ways we're going to do this. We're going to actually have 2 different when I receive done rollings. And the reason is that there's going to be, just like in the red dice here, let me pull this open. When I receive new roll, remember we roll the dice and then we also create the dice. So we're going to create the dice first and then we'll worry about rolling them. We're going to do the same thing here. So we're going to grab it based off of the done rolling, the broadcast done rolling, that is. So let's grab 2 when I receives, but we're only going to work on 1 at the moment. This is just to remind us that we have 2. And we're going to do when I receive done rolling on both of them. And just drag the other one off to this side. We don't totally need it at this moment. All right, the first thing we're going to do is we've hidden it. Once the program starts, we need to show it. We need to make sure that it's showing up and it's looking good. So let's go in and we're going to drop in show. Now when I made these sprites, I made them a lot bigger. You know, if I did this right, I probably could have made them the right size. I didn't. That's on me. So we got to go in here and we got to say set size, and we're going to set the way we want to we've shown them, we've set the size. Now we need to get them rolling in the appropriate spots. So let's go to motion, and we're going to grab go to X and Y. And you want to set this to -110 and 150. Okay. I'll give you 1 second here. I'm going to take a drink, and while you're, it'll allow you to catch up for just a sec if you need. Okay. Now, just like we did on the red dice, we need to repeat how many dice we with how many dice we have. If we have 5 dice, we need to roll 5 of them. If we have only 4 dice, we need to roll 4 of them, and so on and so forth. So, how we do this is we're going to go into repeat, or excuse me, we're going to go into control, and we're going to grab repeat 10. But then we go to variables, and this is where we grab the blue dice variable. This is where we keep track of how many dice the player still has to use. And we'll jump back to control, and we'll drag in create a clone of myself. And then same as with the red dice, again, I told you a lot of this is exactly the same. We're going to go to X and Y, and we're going to set Y to 150, but for X we're going to do a calculation. So let's grab X position pill out of motion. Down near the bottom you'll find X position. And in operators, let me go ahead and blow this up a little bit bigger there too. Okay, in operators, we're going to grab addition. We'll take the X position. We're going to drop it in the first cell of the addition. And in the second, we're going to set that to 45. Now, since we're using X position, you can probably guess that this is going to go in the X location. If we were working Y position, it would probably go in the Y position, right? So now we should have this here. So what we're going to do is we're going to repeat however many dice we have. We're going to create a clone of it, and then we're going to move the dice over just a little bit so it stacks those dice across the screen. And if we've done this right, look at that. It should do it. Now we haven't turned on the rolling yet. We haven't turned on the animations yet. We've only just stacked it across the top. So we're doing well. Honestly, it doesn't take a whole lot, does it? Like, we are set already on just making our dice show up. All right. Now, this is where we start working on the rolling and choosing the dice, making the AI do what it's supposed to do. The funny thing is the AI does the exact same thing we do, just a little bit different, a little bit trickier. So what we're going to do is we are going to start with this other when I receive done rolling. So drag that back over. Let's get that into play. Now we're going to go down to my blocks, and in my blocks we don't have anything yet. We're going to make a block, and we're going to call this roll dice. Okay. We don't need to add an input. No booleans, no text, no numbers, nothing. Just roll dice. Strictly a function call, and this is going to define a new block for us. We'll build that here in just a second, but let's drag the roll dice in. Okay, so when I receive done rolling, we're going to roll dice. Now this is, and let me double check. I'm gonna check here when I roll dice. This looks exactly the same. This is pretty cool. Yeah, this is, if I built this nicer, we could actually make this once and both of them would use it. I didn't build it that nice. We probably could have thought a little bit more about this, but that's okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna set rotation style, and we're gonna start building roll dice here. Just to be clear, I'm not sure if I said that, but we're gonna set rotation style, and that is in motion. And I am looking right past it, aren't I? Yep. All right, near the bottom there, set rotation style, and we're gonna set that to all around. Okay. All around. Now we want to make sure that we go into looks here. This was a weird bug. I'm not sure why it happened. It was in Scratch 2.0. It might not happen in Scratch 3.0. But we're going to tell it to show. So in looks, go ahead and tell it to show. Now it should be doing it right here. Should be. It wasn't doing it totally. I'm going to put it in there just to be careful so we don't have to go back and fix it later. And we're actually going to do the same thing with set size. We're going to set size to 10%. So go ahead and drag in set size to 10%. I'm not sure that this is needed anymore. It shouldn't be. The way that we're doing this, it should be just fine. It's better safe than sorry at this point. My notes have it. I'm going to put it in here. I'm sure someone out there is like, that doesn't make sense. No, it doesn't. Just go with it for the moment. All right. Next, we want to figure out how often we want to roll it. We're going to roll it 30 different times, and during those different times, we're going to pick a random set of degrees, and we're going to tell it to pick a random number each time too, so it eventually lands on a random number between 1 and 6. So let's go to Control, grab Repeat, and change 10 to 30. Okay. Then we're going to turn this. So let's go back to motion. Grab a turn direction. It doesn't matter which direction. And drag that out. Now it says turn 15 degrees. We want it to turn just random directions. So we're going to go into Operators, green there. And we're going to pick random and drag that over the 15. But we want to change this to anywhere between 1 and 360. And then drop that in our repeat. Okay. Good so far. Let's test it out. Let's see what it looks like. So we're going to roll our dice. We're going to click done. Oh, we only got that last one rolling so far. That's okay. We're going to fix that in just a minute because we're just rolling that last dice there. Okay. Now we are going to also switch the costume because it's still showing up as 1. So let's go into looks and we're going to say switch costume to. We're going to drag that out. Now remember, this is a drop down menu, but what's cool about this is look at the shape of it. We're going to go into operators again. We're going to pick random. Let's drag this out and we're going to say pick random from 1 to 6. This shape is actually the same shape as this right here. This is awesome. This is awesome because we can drop this in and now we have it able to switch to a random costume between 1 and 6. And let's drag this in and drop it down below. That's actually the end of Roll Dice. Pretty simple. I know last time it might have seemed like a lot, but this time, you know, we've done it before. Hopefully we're getting a little bit of a grasp of it and things are starting to make a little more sense. I know that this part right here, the show and set size to, may not make as much sense. That's okay. again, just go with it. In fact, I think I did it because there's a race condition. It's called a race condition. It tries to see how fast something can happen. Sometimes when you tell a computer to do two things at once, it'll race. Those two things will race to see which one gets done first. When we say done rolling, I think that over here when we say done rolling, sometimes it's not quick enough and doesn't do the show and set size to. It's weird because the clone should be created down here, but what it was doing was it was leaving, I can't remember if it was the left or right side, a little bit larger. So we put it in roll dice just to make sure that if that ever happens, that it takes care of it. Okay. Now, we only have one of these dice rolling now, right? This was something we ran into with the bottom dice here as well. And the reason being is we're only telling the main dice to roll. So let's go into control. And right next to the when I receive done rolling, we're going to drag in when I start as a clone. So when I start as a clone, we're going to take the my blocks, roll dice. We're going to drop that in as well. Now, if we've done this correct, it should roll all the dice. Excuse me, got a bit of a dry throat today. It's hard to talk a lot when your throat's dry, so if I keep leaning off for water, that's what you know is going on. All right. Now, like I said, let's test this out. We're going to do a roll. We're going to say done, and look at that. All of our dice are rolling. Very nice. That's what we want to happen. I like that. Looks good. They're coming up random. They're rolling. There's animation. Beautiful. Now, where we came in here, we chose the dice that we wanted. We're actually going to take this here, when this sprite's clicked, we're essentially going to recreate this, and each time a dice is rolled, we are going to tell it to come in here and check and see if that dice can be used on the card. We're going to create a function for that. So instead of when this sprite is clicked, we're going to create our own function to do it. All right, let me organize some notes here. Okay. So there's a trick to this though. For the user interface to make it look like there's actually a choice being made, we need to set a bit of a delay between the roll and between the choice of the dice. And then we're going to set a bit of a delay after that choice is finished to let the user see what's going on. Otherwise, it'll just like be a blink of an eye and it'll be done. So we're going to go into, I always get this wrong, it's in control. We're going to go to control and we're going to grab wait. When I receive done rolling, we're going to take a wait and drop that below. We'll leave that at 1 second. But we're going to take another wait and drop it below roll dice in when I start as a clone, but set this one to 1.5. This will delay it just a little bit so that they all kind of look like they start choosing at the same time. Okay. Now we need to actually choose the dice. We need to let the computer choose the dice. Like I said, we don't have a function for this, but we're going to make one. So let's go to My Blocks, make a block, and we're going to call it Choose Dice. Okay. All right, for Choose Dice, let's click OK. We don't want anything else. We don't need any text. We don't need any inputs. That's it. All right. Now we have define choose dice. This is what we want. Let's grab the choose dice block and we're going to drag it into when I receive done rolling. We're going to put it at the bottom of that. And then we're also going to drag it at the bottom of when I start as a clone. So all the dice are going to roll, and then the computer's going to go through and try to choose which dice is right. Now remember, when we roll this, we're actually creating a costume number for this. So we know what each dice is. The costume number is significant because costume 5 is number 5, costume 1 is number 1, and so on. So we want to be able to look at the costume number, and then we're going to compare it to the list. And that list is when we created this card for both the red and the blue, we said, okay, we have a 4 and a 5 on this card. We put a 4 and a 5 in a list for both the blue and the red. That way, if the red had a 4 and they clicked on it, it would remove 4 from the list. And that list is what dice are still needed to win the card. So we're going to look at the list that we have, and we're going to check and see, do I have that number in a costume, but is that costume number on the list? So in this case, we're going to say, I have a dice that says 5. Is that on my list? So far I have no dice chosen. So it's going to say, yes, that is on my list. I need it to be used. It's going to choose that dice, and it's going to remove it from here, stamp it down here, and then it will remove it from that list, and now it'll leave just a 4 behind. Okay. I know that was a while ago that we did that, so just doing a quick reminder. So what we want to do is we're going to go into control, and we're going to grab an if statement, because this is what we're checking. If that dice's number is in the list of dice that were still needed for us, then we need to use it. So let's do exactly that. We have an if then. Let's go down to variables. Scroll down just a little bit to lists, that darker orange section. And we have this right here that's the same, I like to call it the rupee shape, that says blue list contains thing. The thing that we're looking for is the costume number. So we have the blue list of dice needed. We're looking for that costume number. So let's go back up to looks. And in looks, if we scroll down a little bit, we will see costume number. And it's that pill shape. So let's drag that pill shape over thing. And we have a check now. Now we check to see if our list of required dice matches any of the costumes we have up here. Because we're checking every time we roll that last dice and every time we roll a clone. All right, now the next thing we need to do is that this really goofy check that I did last time. Again, if you want to know how we did it and how we're checking to see if the dice is correct, just go into it was part 2. Go to part 2, watch that. I know it's a long explanation. I'm going to do a short explanation now. We'll go through it really quick and try to work this out. So we use things in computer science called iterators, and we usually signify iterators as I, J, or K. Just a simple letter. We don't really put a whole lot into iterators. And all an iterator does is count for us. It keeps track of how many times we've done something. So we're going to use the iterator I, and we're going to grab set I to 1. So grab the set blue score to 0 is what mine says. Change that to I and set it to 1. We want to start at 1 because you don't have to do this, but I'll show you, but our lists always start at 1. So in this case, we had a 4 and a 5. Our first one was 4, our second one was 5. So we want to say, check the first part of this list here. Check the very first number for us. Now we're going to go back into control, and we're going to grab repeat until. And we're going to drag that right below set I to 1. Now what we're going to do is we're going to repeat. We're going to check for each of these. You just check one at a time when doing this. It's kind of nice. So if we have a 5 here, we're going to check and see, is our first location equal to 4? The answer is going to be no. Then we're going to say, okay, well, did we check through everything? So we're going to check and see, is our iterator 3? Because our length is only 2. Is our iterator 3? Did we check all the numbers? For the 5, we're going to jump out of here. We're not going to repeat anymore, and we're going to keep going with our code. So how we do this, and what we're looking for, is that's going to tell us what location our number's at. So we want to find out that our number is at location number 2. So we're going to drag out quite a few different things here. Let's just work on them a little bit at a time. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go and let's go to variables, and let's grab the I pill. We're going to pull that out. And then scroll down a little bit to list and grab the pill that says length of blue list. We're trying to see if we've checked all of them. So let's go into operators and grab a greater than symbol. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to drag I in the first section and then length of blue list in the second section. So we have I is greater than length of blue list. This is asking us, did we check through everything yet? All right. Then what we want to do is we're going to take the and in the green section here. Oh, excuse me, not the and. We're going to take the or and drag this to the very first spot of the or. So we'll start building out this or here. So we want to check to see if one thing or the other is complete. We want to say, are we all the way through the end, or did we find the number? Okay. Next, we want to check to see, does our dice's costume number equal the number inside here? So how we do this is, let's go to variables. We're going to drag out I, the iterator from variables, and then go to list, scroll down just a little bit to list, and you're going to look for the pill that says item 1 of blue list. Well, since we're keeping track with I of what item we're currently on, we can replace item 1 of blue list with the I. So that'll say just whatever one we happen to be on at the time. Let's take that and let's figure out what's in there. So if I is equal to 2, this dark orange pill here is going to return 5. Then we want to go to operators, and we are going to grab an equal to sign. And we're going to take this item I of blue list and drop it into the first section. Okay. The second section, we're comparing what is item I. So if item I is 2, or if I is 2, item I of blue list would be 5. We want to say, is this costume number equal to this number? So we need to check costume number. So let's go back up to looks, scroll down a little bit, and grab costume number. Then once this is done, we're going to drag that into the second spot in the OR symbol, and then drag this whole entire OR into the repeat until. Again, don't worry too much at this moment about what this means. I feel like I went into it at great length in part 2. Go ahead, jump back to part 2, take a look at it. If you have any questions, post them in the comments. I'm more than happy to answer. I just want to make sure that you know that it is there to go back and look at. All right, now what we're going to do this entire time, and I'll pause for just a second to let you guys catch up. What we're going to do is each time we haven't found anything, because if we get into the center here, we're repeating until either of these are found. What we're going to do is we're going to increase I by 1. So let's go to variables, and we are going to change, and mine says blue score, but I'm going to change it to I. Change I by 1 means add 1 to it. All right, I'm going to pause right here for a second, and I'm going to let you guys catch up a little bit if you need it. If you're watching this later, just pause the video. And don't be afraid to holler too. If you have any problems, go ahead and holler out in the chat there and let me know. And I'm more than happy to slow down a little bit here and help you guys out. Okay, let's keep going here. So once we've found the location, in this case, if I clicked on this last one here, it's costume 5. Costume 5 is in the number 2 position. This iterator would be, I would be equal to 2. We need to now delete 5 out of this list. We're done with 5. We don't want to see it anymore. So let's go down to lists. So go to variables, scroll down a little bit to lists, and grab delete 1 of blue list. And then scroll up just a little and grab that I out of there. And we're going to replace delete 1 of blue list and make it delete I of blue list. And then drop this right below the repeat until. Don't drop it inside the repeat until. This is what we want to do after the repeat until. Since we did this, one of the things we're doing is when we roll the blue dice, it has a number of dice. It tells us how many dice to roll. Well, we just removed a dice from our player pool. When you roll dice, however many dice you rolled is called your pool. When you choose one, that's called picking from the pool. Well, we picked from the pool. We need to make our pool smaller now. So we're going to go and we're going to grab in variables. We're going to grab change blue scored by 1. I'm going to drag this out, but this is going to be changed to blue dice. And instead of changing it by 1, we want to subtract 1. So we're going to change it by -1. So change blue dice by -1. Okay. Now, if you guys remember, the last thing we need to do here is we need to place the dice next to the card. So we place the red dice over here. We're going to place the blue dice on the other side. So red dice went on the left, right dice, or blue dice on the right. We need to do this by a function though. So we're going to grab the my blocks, or go to my blocks, excuse me. We're going to make a block. And in make a block, we're going to call it place dice. Go ahead and click OK. And when we're done, we're going to take that place dice and we're going to drop it right below the change blue dice by 1. And now we've created ourselves a new function here, and we're going to work on that in just a minute. I'm going to move this over a little bit, get it to where we can see it. All right. So with place dice, again, just kind of follow along. I've done a lot of the math already, so we're going to have to stack some stuff, stack some calculations, and it's all just kind of visual stuff. It's just making it look good. Actually, let me check something real quick here. We're not quite done with the red dice. We got one more thing to put in there. I just wanted to check real quick. Okay, so with place dice, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the dice and we're going to move it down to where it should be if it was needing to be, or if we chose it. So let's go to motion. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab a go to X and Y. And I know however we want it to be on X. X is left to right, and I want it to be on the right side of this card here. So I'm going to go and we're going to pull everything out. We're going to put it in our canvas here, and then we'll put it together. So let's go to Operators. And in Operators, we're going to need two subtractions. So let's grab two subtractions. And we're going to need a multiplication. And then we're going to do this by looking at how many blue dice we have left. So let's go to Variables, and we're going to select blue dice. All right, now we're going to do this real careful so that we get it right. First thing we're going to do is we're going to grab a subtraction, and we're going to pull it down here. In this subtraction, we're going to put in the first spot 4. And in the second spot, we're going to put blue dice. So we have 4 minus blue dice. So once we have 4 minus blue dice, we're going to grab the multiplication. Let's drag the multiplication out. In the first spot, we're going to put 30, 30. And in the second spot, we're going to take this 4 minus blue dice, and we're going to drop that in. So now we have 30 times 4 minus blue dice. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this subtraction. In the first spot, we're going to put 105, 105. And in the second spot, we're going to take this 30 times 4 minus blue dice, and we're going to drop that into the second spot. Once we have this, we're going to drop this all into the Y on the go to X and Y. So it'll say go to X equals 90, Y is going to equal our calculation there. The next thing we're going to do is we need to set the rotation style. So up here we set the rotation style to all around. We don't want an all-around rotation style. We want them to stack nicely next to the card here. So we're going to go to Motion, scroll towards the bottom, and we're going to grab Set Rotation Style. And we're going to set the rotation style to Don't Rotate. Okay. Now, the dice is quite a bit bigger than we want it to be when it's next to the card, so we got to adjust the size of it just a little bit. What we're going to do is we're going to go into Looks, and we are going to grab Set Size to, and we're going to set the size to 8%. Alright, 8%, not too bad. Then what we do, if you remember, because some of these are clones, the clones will disappear, so we can't just move the dice. We want the clones to disappear so that it doesn't kind of overload our program with clones. So this is where we actually use the pen tool, and we take whatever sprite we have at the time and we stamp it onto the background. So we're going to grab, in the pen tool, we're going to grab Stamp. And then what we want to do is, since we're done with this now, we placed our stamp, we want to go into Looks, and we're going to hide whatever dice it was that created all this. Let me make sure you guys can see that. Please, again, let me know if you have any questions. I'll give you guys 1 second to go through that. Okay. Now let me zoom out just a little bit here. we have when I receive done rolling and when I start as a clone. So far we've gone through, we've rolled the dice, we've waited a little bit of time, we let the computer choose the dice, and then it places it down the side here. Okay, this is great. We're doing really well. The last thing we want to do is in the when I receive done rolling, we're going to add another wait here. This is just for the user so it doesn't fly by too fast. So let's go to control, drag in a wait, and we're going to wait for 2 seconds. Oop, not 21. We're going to wait for 2 seconds. Now we're done. The computer has finished its turn at this point. So we need to tell the rest of the program, including the blue dice, that we are done. So let's go in and we're going to go to events and grab a broadcast. Now we're going to make a new broadcast. And in this, we're going to say we have done rolling, but we're going to say that blue is done. So we're going to say blue done. Create a new broadcast called blue done. So now we've told the rest of the computer or the rest of the program that the computer is done. We need to make sure that whatever we're taking care of here does what we expect it to. Now we're going to create the same thing just like we did in our done button, where we said, okay, when we or excuse me, here it is. In our red dice, when I receive done rolling, we're going to hide it and delete this clone. This is the same thing we're going to do in the blue dice. So grab a when I receive and make this when I receive blue done. So that is in the events, grab when I receive and check it as blue done. Now we want to do the two different things. We want to delete the clones and we want to hide the last one. So we're going to go into looks. We're going to grab hide. And then we're going to go into control. And down at the bottom, we're going to take delete clone. So when I receive the blue done signal, I'm going to delete all of this. Okay, so now I'm going to test this. I'm going to go through and I'm going to test this. And so far, not bad. Okay, I'm able to choose. Going to click done. It's going to choose. Look at that. We have a problem here though. When the blue player is done with their turn, we don't get our roll button back. So let's fix that. Let's go in, let's repair that. So I'm going to go into the green button. And in the green button, we're going to wait for when the blue done signal is received. So let's go to events and grab a when I receive and set this to blue done broadcast. When I receive blue is done, all I need to do is show the button again. So when I receive blue done, we're going to show the green button. Okay. Now let's try this out. I'm going to try it one more time. We're going to roll. I'm going to pick something. I'm going to click done. It's going to roll. It's going to pick something. That was a good roll. Hey, check that out. Look at this. Now we have it going around in the circle. Oop, didn't want to move that dice. We have its turn, then my turn. Look at this. It found all 3 dice. There's only 3 dice on the card. It found all 3 dice. We are not doing anything. This is a problem. We need to be doing something. We need to know that this is completed, and we do not know. So we can take care of this. What we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to make a new broadcast. And the new broadcast is going to check to see if the card is full. So let's go first off to the red dice. And what we're going to do is we're going to put this under place dice. Okay? Let me double check that just to make sure. Yes, we're going to put that under place dice. So we're going to go to, events. And in events, we're going to create a broadcast. And the new message will be, I am doing terrible today, is card full. Okay? We're going to put that under the place dice, is card full broadcast. We're going to do that in the red. And then we're going to go to the blue, and in the same spot, place dice function at the very bottom, we're going to hit broadcast. And we're going to create the broadcast is card full. We already created it before, but we're going to use it again. So each time the player chooses the dice, it's going to check to see if the card is full or not. Now we need this to do something. We sent the broadcast, but we need a listener. We haven't built a listener yet. We're going to build this listener inside of the card sprite. Okay? So let's go into events, and we're going to grab the broadcast receiver when I receive, and we're going to check it as is card full. Did I check to see if a is card full broadcast happened? Now here's the deal. We're sending it from the red and we're sending it from the blue. We don't necessarily know which one sent it at this time. It could have come from red, it could have come from blue, it could come from purple if we decided to make purple. We don't know. But we can check this. And the reason we can check this is each time we choose one of these dice, it removes it from our list. So I'm going to show you this. Don't do this yourself. I'm just going to show you our list. But our blue list is currently empty because we had 3 dice on the card and we've chosen 3 dice, so it shows that we have no dice left. However, red's chosen 1 dice, and it shows in our list that we still have to choose 5 and 6 to be able to complete this card. So here's our indicator. This is what we can check. So we're going to check to see, we don't know if red or blue sent it, but we can figure it out by looking at their list and seeing whose list is empty at this time. So let's go into control, and in control we are going to grab an if-else statement. Now we're going to go into operators, and in operators we're going to choose I take that back. Let's go back to control. One of the things we want to do is each time we place a dice, we want to check to see if it's full. We actually have to have 2 if statements in here. So we're going to, this is just showing you that you can actually nest these. I kind of like this. I did this on purpose and I forgot. But we're going to take an if statement and we're going to drop it inside else. So we're going to say we're going to check to see if the length of the red list is 0. If it's not 0, we're going to come down to else, and then we're going to check and see if the length of the blue list is 0, and if that's not 0, then we're just not going to do anything. So we can check both lists here by this little clever trick of putting an if statement inside an else. And we actually do this a lot in computer science. We do this a lot in code. So we're going to build these 2 together at the same time because they're essentially the same thing. Okay, let's go into operations, and what we want to do is we want to check and see if both the lists are equal to 0. So we're going to grab an equals or 2 equal sign, excuse me. So let's grab 2 equal signs and drag them out to the side. And what we're checking is our list length. So let's go to variables. We're going to scroll down a little bit, and we're going to grab the pill that says length of blue list. or length of red list. And we're going to grab two of those and make sure one says length of blue list, the other one should say length of red list. Now we want to drop these into the first spot, so length of blue list is equal to, change 50 to 0, and we want to check and see if length of red list is equal to 0. Now these green rupee shapes are going to be dropped into the if statements. Now, if the length of our blue list is 0, then we know we need to give a score to the blue team. If the length of the red list is 0, we know we need to score to the red team. We're going to do this by creating two different scoring mechanisms. The first one we're going to do, we're going to go to My Blocks, and we're going to make a new block, and we're going to call it Score Blue. We're going to create the score for blue. Okay? And this, we're going to define the score blue function. We're going to grab score blue and we're going to drag it into our length of blue list equals 0. If that is true, then we're going to score for blue. Make sure you put it in blue and not in red. You can get that mixed up pretty easy. You don't want to be giving points to the other people, right? Now what we're trying to do here is we're trying to figure out which card is on the table. That's what score blue and score red will do. They'll try to look at which card's on the table, and depending on which card is on the table, they will then give the score to the appropriate team. So this is just going to take some if statements, and we're going to recreate these. We're going to create one, and then I'm going to use the duplicate feature, and it'll make life a lot easier for us. So what we're going to do is we're going to check to see if the first card is available, and that would be a, what did we have again? That was 2 points, right? Yes. We're going to check for 2 points. So let's go into control. We're going to grab an if then statement, and we want to check the costume number. We want to see if the costume number is, sorry, that was going to bother me. We're going to check to see if the costume number is equal to number 1, because if it's number 1, that is the 2-point card. If it's costume number 2, that's the 10-point card, and costume number 3 is the 15-point card. So we're going to go to operators. We're going to grab another equal sign, and then we're going to go to looks, and we're going to grab costume number. We're going to drop that in the first spot on the equal sign. And we want to check to see if the costume number is equal to number 1. This tells us that it's our 2-point card, right? And drag this into the if statement. So it'll say if costume number is equal to 1. Okay, what we need to do here is let's go to variables. And if this is the case, if our costume number is equal to 1, then we need to change our score by 2. So again, don't grab set, grab change, because we want to increase it by 2. So we're going to change blue score by 2. And we are going to drop that in. So I'm going to go ahead and take a second. I'm going to let you look at that. Let's make sure that we have that right. So it should say if our costume number is equal to 1, then we're going to change blue score by 2. Okay. Now we're going to cheat a little bit. All we need to do is we need to check to see if it's our second one, we'll change it by 10. If it's our third one, we'll change it by 15. So let's right click on the if then. So where it says if then, that orange, right click on that. And you're going to duplicate. And then we're going to do it one more time. We're going to duplicate. So right now it should be the same thing stacked on top of each other. There'll be 3 of them. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to change this slowly. We're going to say if 2 in the second one, then we're going to give 10 points. And we're going to say if 3 in the third one, then we're going to give 15 points. Okay. Since we're using the same code, makes life a lot easier for us. And there's actually other ways that we can make this look simpler. We could actually take that and we could move it out to a function of its own, and we could take care of it that way. There's all sorts of stuff we could do. Now, the next thing, we need to make this for red as well. It's going to look exactly like this, except for instead of changing blue score, we're going to change red score. So let's go into my blocks. We're going to make a block, and we're going to call it red score. Or excuse me, score red. Let's try to name them the same. Score red. Now that we have score red, I'm going to come up here to the very top if statement. I'm going to right click and duplicate again, and it'll grab all 3 of the if statements for me, and it's going to change them. Now this is the part we can't forget. We're going to change blue score to red score. Let's go into all 3 of these and change blue score to red score. Okay, now at this point we have score red, we have blue, score blue. We've put blue score, or score blue, excuse me, into when I receive his card is full, but we haven't put reds in. So let's go ahead and take score red, and we're going to drop it in to the length of red list is equal to 0, then we're going to score red. Now, at this point, if you've scored on the card, I want to actually redraw a new card. Okay, we need to do 2 things. We need to tell the program that either the red player or the blue player is done rolling. Their turn is over. They've scored a card. They don't get another turn at this point, or they don't get to choose another dice at this point. You know, they want to start fresh. So we have 2 broadcasts for this. So let's go to our broadcast, and for the first one, for the blue list, we have the broadcast blue done. So underscore blue, drag in broadcast and change it to blue done. That's going to let the program know that the blue player is done with their turn. And then drag the broadcast below the score red, and we're going to change that to done rolling. This is the one that we said this signifies that the red player is done with their turn. Now the last thing we need to do here is, since the card is full, we need to draw a new one. And we actually have a function for this. So let's go to my blocks, and we're going to take new card, and we're going to put a new card below each broadcast. So you're going to drag in 2 new cards and put them below each of the broadcasts. So your when I receive is card full should look just like this when you're done. Yes, I see a hand raised there. What's up? Or you're just like high-fiving. Like virtual high five, since we can't actually can't high five each other because of virus stuff. I'll give it a second. I got about a 30-second lag on this stream right now, so everything I'm hearing in my ears is about 30 seconds or is what I said 30 seconds ago. So And you can just go ahead and type your question too. You don't have to raise your hand. Just go ahead and ask whenever you feel like. Go ahead and read through this code. I'm kind of leaving it up here. I know we just went through a lot, so go ahead and read through this code too if you have any issues. We can pause it. We're almost done with the stream tonight. We got just a little more code, and when I say little, I mean just a few more blocks, and we're done. So if you have a question, go ahead and type it now. I'm seeing you. I'm going to actually, while we're waiting, I'm going to go in and let's see, I lost my mouse. There it is. All right. I'm going to go in and I'm going to run this program. So let's see if it's doing what we want. So this might take a second. We got 2. We got a 5. Okay, that's it. I'm done rolling. Let's let the computer roll. It's going to make its choice. It got a 6 and a 2. I'm going to roll. What am I looking for? I need a 6. Ooh, I got a 6. Okay, let's see. This is the moment of truth. Did we get this to work? Will our score increase by 10? Hey, it increased by 10, and it told me that my turn was over. That's awesome. Okay, I'm gonna keep doing this. Oh, look at that though. There was a problem though when. That's okay. We can fix that later. I saw a small problem. I want to see if the blue can win. I want to see if its card will increase. This might take a minute. Actually, let's choose a different card. Trying to get a 6 card is really difficult. So let's keep going here. Okay, come on, blue player. I want to see your score increase. Now we have a problem here. Check out our scores. Okay, it gained 10 points. Good, that's working. Okay, our problem though is I restarted the game and red score still is 20, blue score is still 37. Restart the game again. Restart. It just stays the same. We missed something. And what we missed is, let's go into events. We're going to drag into the card section here when green flag is clicked. When our green flag is clicked, we need to just nuke the scores. We need to get rid of them. So let's go to variables. And we're going to drag in 2 sets. We're going to set blue score and we're going to set red score to 0. So make sure that set blue score to 0 and set red score to 0 is under when green flag is clicked. Now let's try again. Let's see if that works. Hey, there we go. It's working for me. This is great. So let's just play a little bit. Let's see how it goes. Got a 6 and nothing else. He's got a 6. See how it like gives it a second and it actually looks like the computer's trying to choose dice. If we didn't put in those weights, it would go crazy. It would just pick them really quick and would be terrible. Man, this is only a 2 dice card and it's taking forever. Hey, here we go. 4. I got 2 points. Yeah. All right. So it's working. It's looking good. If you guys want, I'm gonna pull up the I can pull up the you win condition, and I can no, you know what? No, I'm gonna put that on another video. I'm not gonna put it on this one. It's not gonna be a stream. I'm just gonna put how to make a win condition on a video, and we'll put that off to the side. It'll be its own little thing. I want to make little tiny videos, so I got 2 videos ready to go, or ready to record. It's hard to find time to record when you're in a house with everybody because it's tough to get time that's nice and silent. Thankfully this mic does a lot of work, but it doesn't filter out everything. So I have one that's based around math. It's pretty cool. It's, if you guys have ever seen like Plinko, it shows how the math behind Plinko works. And then if you guys have ever played a game with a bag where you can collect items and it goes in a bag and you can hide the bag and then open it and hide it and open it and you see items in the bag, I have a bag program. So that's just 2 little programs. The Plinko program, or it's called normal distribution, is a little bit bigger. The bag program is extremely small. It'll probably only be maybe a 10-15 minute video. It'll be very, very small. The Plinko one will probably be about 30 minutes or so. So I'm going to do it the same style as this. And good, Kaizo helped you. I like that you guys help each other. That's awesome. Anyway, so yes, I will be putting those up. I'm going to record them hopefully this weekend. I will try to put one up on probably Tuesday. And then I'm going to try to space them out. And the reason being is I don't want to just give you guys everything at once and have you all watch it at once. I would like for you guys to watch it over a period of time. So I'll distribute them slowly. If you guys have any questions, and I'm going to add the win condition to that list too. We'll do the win condition. If you guys have any questions, put them in the comments. I'm more than happy to help. If you want me to take a look at your program, go ahead and tell me your Scratch username in the comments. I will hop down in there. Next week, we're going to work on a different program. We're going to work on a program that one of our other volunteers put together for me. It is one of those matching game programs. So you try to pick one card and then pick another card that you think was the right card, and try to make all the cards disappear off the table by matching them with the other card that's hidden. So again, I'm sure most of you have subscribed. Oh, I got a comment. Mr. Chris, can you check my Scratch afterwards? Give me... Yes, Pierce. Yes, I can definitely check that for you. I think I have your Scratch username, so you don't have to comment if you don't want to. I can remember to check it out, and I will actually comment on your Scratch program and help you out. Just make sure it's shared so I can see it. I'm also going to try to do some other programming languages, so I'm trying to work on those a little bit, but they'll just be small, maybe 5-10 minute introductions to other programming languages so that we can kind of check out and see what else is out there and have a little fun. So it might go over your head at first, but that's okay. That's what it's supposed to do. If it doesn't go over your head, then you already know it, right? So anyway, if you guys again have any questions, comment. If you need to, or you should always subscribe and hit the bell icon for notifications. That way you know when we are going to be streaming. I have started to try to put the streams up beforehand. Hopefully when I set the streams for a future date, it notifies you properly. It should notify you. Other than that, I'm going to say have a good night, coders. Go be safe, wash your hands, stay away from people, and be healthy. Talk to you guys soon.